Worm. 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 It's not the same. This is Tapeworm, released in 1982 for the Atari 2600 video computer system from SpectraVision, and right off the bat, this looks like Snake. That game that most people played on their
fucking telephone.
It's the game where you guide a little snake thing around to eat the dots that appear on screen, and as you eat the dots, your snake gets longer, which makes it difficult to avoid crashing into yourself and losing the game. Well, Tapeworm is pretty much that, but a little more. Not a whole lot more, just a little more. As in Snake, Tapeworm has you guiding your worm thing around eating flickering dots that appear on screen, with each dot making your worm thing longer and thus making it more challenging to avoid crashing into yourself and walls and other things of that nature. Tapeworm throws in a couple wrinkles. First off, bird and spider things will occasionally appear to throw you off, and if they happen to touch your head, you lose a life. Not only that, but you also have a beetle thing crawling towards a fruit on the bottom of the screen. This is basically your timer, the time you have to reach the dot. And if you eat the dot before the beetle reaches the fruit, the timer, as it were, resets. But if the beetle beats you to it, the game adds 2 more dots on screen for you to consume. The goal is to eat X number of dots, usually 10 if you're spot on, before the fruit appears on top or bottom for you to consume, upon which you proceed to the next stage, of which there are 5, including one that takes place in the dark. And that's pretty much Tapeworm in a nutshell. It's Snake with a couple insects that you have to work around, and it plays about as well as you'd expect, which is fairly adequate. Controlling the snake, or worm, whatever thing, isn't much of a hassle. You move with the stick, obviously, while the button is reserved for providing temporary lighting during the dark stage, though this will add dots for you to eat on the board. So that works out fine. Game features 4 variations, 1 or 2 players, slow or fast movement. There's not a whole lot to this one. It's a pretty straightforward game that does what it does well enough, and if you enjoy a good game of Snake, then Tapeworm is more of that. Fairly simple, fairly straightforward. Nothing to break your head over. Obviously, Tapeworm is a fairly simplistic looking game. The expanding snake, worm effect, whatever you want to call it, similar to what was done in an earlier Atari game called Surround, solid segments and such. You do have some identifiable sprites with the various bugs and fruits. You can make out what is what, which is somewhat impressive, I suppose. The layout as a whole is fine. The audio is largely terrible. Low-end Atari beeps and bleeps and scratches and such. Not very pleasant. Best keep the volume down. And yes, there's a way to do sound on Atari that doesn't sound like ass. This game, obviously, is not one of them. Overall, if you fancy a version of Snake on Atari 2600, then Tapeworm fills that niche just fine. It's a perfectly competent version of the game with a couple added bells and whistles, and that's all you could really ask for out of a game like this. All in all, perfectly acceptable Atari fodder, though really you could get your Snake fix just about anywhere, so whatever.